After reading the Context for Language Learning document that was provided, I really liked how in the beginning it gave 4 different learning conditions, and each one is completely different from the next one. And what I also liked is how extensive some of the questions were and how many questions there were. I also liked the checklist that was given and the different types of learner characteristics that there were and the conditions. I think this will be extremely helpful in a classroom where there is an ESOL student. So after reading the case study on Elsa and Aurora, one thing I noticed when the person had them each write their own story based on the pictures is that Elsa did a really good job in the beginning on her spelling and everything. And then towards the middle of it, it started to go really downhill, and some of the words I can't even make out what they could possibly be. I don't know if maybe because she was so into her writing about the story that she just forgot spelling of things and just spelled it any way that she could. I just thought it was really interesting how quickly it transitioned into being illegible. As for Elsa's story, it is definitely a lot more legible, and there's only a few spelling errors, which is understandable given her age, but for the most part, I can read the whole story perfectly fine. She even wrote down the name of the panda, which I thought was interesting because a lot of the times when pandas get names, they're usually in Chinese. So they can be kind of hard to spell, and it looks like she actually did a pretty decent job at spelling the panda's name. In reading the chapter in the Tabor's book, I read about nonverbal communication, and I found it interesting that, we all understand that if a child who is learning English as a second language tends to not speak at all if their home language is not being used in the classroom. And this is what they called nonverbal communication in the book. But what I found most interesting was the scenario that was given with the child. Her name is Jessica, and she started imitating the nonverbal cues that all of the English language learning children were using. She saw how positive the reaction was when the ELL students would use the nonverbal cues. The teacher or adults would react and give them what they needed. So Jessica thought that if she did this, she would get what she wanted and wouldn't have to use her words. Well, she quickly found out that that's not the case, and that since she didn't get her way on the first day of using these nonverbal cues, that the second day she started using her words again. I just found it really interesting how quickly she picked up on imitating that nonverbal behavior from the other ELL students.